Good morning, everyone. If the sun is up, it's time to get your horns up. It is Bama week, the very last day we have to suffer before kickoff. Well, tomorrow will be a long day ahead of the kickoff because it's a nighttime game. But at least you'll have college football to fill the void until then. Today is just going to be that long slog of the day while we're just waiting and waiting. At least the team gets to travel. I am Travis Gailey. I'm joined by Orangebloods Aaron Little and Nash, who's from Texas and likes to talk about his home state. How are you guys?
I'm doing good this morning. How are you doing, Aaron?
Man, I'm doing good. I woke up. The Kansas City Chiefs are in last place in the AFC West. Texas plays Alabama tomorrow. It's Friday. I'm doing pretty good over here.
Aaron woke up with the little birdie singing on his shoulder. Oh, what a beautiful morning.
Very, very happy camper over here.
Guys, if you want to join in the show, the Specs chat line is the way to go, like Rodolfo. First in the house again. Yet again.
So many times, man.
He's consistent, and he just edges out Benny Rogers, whose Malakoff Tigers have a big game this week. Good morning, Benny. We're excited to see you.
You got Nino out here
in the house. Do what?
We got Nino out here.
We've got Nino out here.
Hey,
we got Ben G in the house. Nino with
shout out to Nino. He just got picked up by a Bleacher Report.
I saw that.
He's doing Bleacher Report live stuff. So big shout out to Nino's Corner, who's been a guest on our show.
That's also that's right. Nino was with us on Tuesday. That was a fantastic show. We had a lot of fun. Nino's going to the game, as is Ben G, I think. I think Ben G's there you go. He's flying. He's wondering who's going to fly in with him. I love it. I'm very jealous. We've got Scotty B in the house. Good morning, fellow kids. I always love that saying. And then one more. Oh, sorry. Cinco de Mayo. Hook 'em in the house, ready to go. All right, boys. Like I said, it is one more day before the biggest game of the year for Texas. Sark had his press conference yesterday. It was his last time speaking to the press before the game. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was how he was talking about the intensity at practice this week reached a whole other level. It was he was saying that he thought the guys were having an intense practice and then they ratcheted up. These boys seem like they are dialed in and ready to go. Aaron, are you dialed in and ready to go?
I think so, man. I'm gonna try my best to be dialed in. I'm gonna go on a nice walk in the morning. I might hit some golf balls. I'll be locked in. I'm obviously glad the guys are locked in. You would expect nothing less during Bama week for it to be a very sharp week of practice, very crisp. You hope that they don't make it too they don't make the game too big, but how can you not? It's it's easy for Sark to go up to the podium and say we're not going to make this game bigger than it is, but man, when you're a player, it's going to feel different. There's a different type of energy. So I'm excited that they're locked in. I'm going to try to be locked in. I'm honestly going to be a mess when I'm sitting on the couch Saturday, but we'll figure it out as we go.
Markel Wood already on the way to the airport, and Nash wishing him a safe flight. Nash, I know we've talked keys to the game, but give me your last impression before the game. I think you're more sold now than you have been all week, even. And you're
I've tried. Like I've talked to Nino multiple times, but I've tried. Okay. I've attempted to get myself to pull myself into realism, but every time I watch that Middle Tennessee game, I watch the Middle Tennessee wide receivers and I watch our wide receivers, and I think, man, they're just completely different levels of players. Middle Tennessee does have a good wide receiver. I'm blanking on the name right now, but they had a guy that was making some catches. Now the same guy did miss a catch, and that's one of the catches I was talking about Aaron earlier, with where I was saying, hey, there were moments in the red zone where they had their opportunity to score, and I think Texas will score on those opportunities. Now the deep ball, Texas still that's remains to be seen, but. Yeah, like Aaron said, I'm going to be pumped. I don't know about him. I know he's sitting on the couch, but I'm not going to be able to sit down. I'm going to be that guy that's walking around, running around, doing all that. Yeah, I'm going to be unless the game goes south. Then
I can usually sit till about I don't know, probably like 5 minutes left in the fourth. Then I'll stand up like behind my couch and I'll start pacing back and forth. But I can usually stay like in my chair. Like there will be some TV yelling, but I won't actually be physically standing until about 5 minutes to go if it's close.
No, hey,
Yeah.
once we're at 30 minutes to go, I'm like a player in the tunnel. I'm jumping around, I'm yelling, I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm playing today.
Hey, you know what? That's what's funny is I yell at my TV, and my wife, when we first got together, she's like, "Who are you yelling at?" I'm like, "Them. They gotta know what there's going on." It's like they can't hear you. And now my dog hears me yelling. He goes running away. It's like, but you can't. You got that energy. It's got to come out. I mean,
Well, I mean,
it
my
just
family,
has.
they prefer to send me to games. They like to get me. They prefer to get me
Oh
out
yeah,
of the
to
house.
get you out of the house.
Yeah, they don't like me in games on game day.
That's so good.
That's too funny. By the way, the other thing that came out of Sark's presser, and this doesn't impact the Alabama, at least we better hope it doesn't impact the Alabama game, was that Sark meant to get Arch Manning into the game last week against Rice, and time just got away from him. The fourth quarter went a lot faster than he expected. I just wanted to throw that out there because I thought it was interesting. Aaron, this is going to be Quinn Ewers' game. Is he ready?
Well, yeah, we're going to find out. I mean, Sark had some interesting quotes yesterday. He said he wanted to do everything he could to make sure Quinn doesn't have to do too much, which is, what any offensive coach wants to do for their quarterback in a tough road game. You don't want to make them have to make every single play. I think Sark is going to be able to do that in the first half. He's going to have the opening script dialed up. He's going to, have some easy shots for Quinn Ewers just so he can get the feel for it and kind of ease himself into the game. It's going to be all about the second half and the fourth quarter because, that's when there are going to be times where Sark's not going to be able to scheme something wide open. He's not going to be able to, consistently move the pocket and have like a one read play. There's going to be times in the second half where Quinn's got to drop back and he's got to dissect this Bama secondary and he's got to put a ball on the money. And, that's what 5-star recruits got to do in their sophomore season, for a team that has playoff aspirations like Texas. So I'm excited to watch Quinn play. There were up and down moments in the first game, but I'm excited for him because this is such a big opportunity for him because talk about a guy that's like had a lot of question marks and there's been a lot of discourse around him. He can do so much. He can make such a big statement with just a huge game at Alabama. So I'm just excited for him in this opportunity. I think he's going to have some great plays. I think there probably will be some mistakes, which Texas will have to work around. But yeah, I'm just excited to watch him play. I think he's going to be, I don't think he's a guy that is just going to crumble under the pressure. I think he's just got a little bit of that calm demeanor to where he'll be ready to go. So I'm very excited.
And so to that point, I think that the thing that I really got watching back, when I keep watching back on Quinn Ewers, I went back and tried to do some adjusted completion percentage stuff to see how well he did. And really, I think that, like I said this in my video last night, I think that Quinn Ewers is he's like that Top Gun quote from the original Top Gun. They're in the parlor, they're going over the film, they're doing the, chalk talk, but for pilots. And he's sitting there saying, you don't have time to think up there. When you think, you're dead. Well, Quinn Ewers is a guy that you don't want thinking back there, right? Like, this was amazing to me. He was 12 of 14 against the blitz last night. He was 7 of 12 when he had a clean pocket. So, like, you're talking about like an 86% completion percentage versus 58.3.
Well,
and
I think that's why he did so well in the RPO because it's not a thing.
It doesn't. You don't think.
Yeah,
and here's the other deal. When he had some pressure on long balls, but really it outside of the deep ball, he was 100% on adjusted completion percentages.
Yeah.
So it was only those times that he had enough time to think, you know what, I'm going for the deep ball. Now there was that 1 to 80 Mitchell where he gets pressure and he misses it, but I mean the dude was for the most part pretty lethal as long as he did not. As long as you made you want him to react. It's almost like baseball. You know how baseball you don't want to think, you just want to react.
Yep.
You want to get enough reps in where you get that mental muscle down.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want out of Quinn Ewers, I think.
I think he's going to be good. And in the chat here, Too Broke to Pay Attention. Thank you for joining us this early in the morning. We appreciate it. CJ Baxter, good to go.
Yes,
there was a report in the war room yesterday on Orangebloods. Cole Hudson looking like he might get the start at right guard. It's not confirmed yet, but that was something that was in the war room on Orangebloods, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, CJ Baxter, good to go. I believe Sark said he's excited to cut him loose. So I think we're going to see
that
Baxter
told me all I
quite a
need
bit.
to know.
Yeah.
Sark
And
is
he
like,
added-
where to go?
He added he didn't think it was going to be too big for CJ. You know, going on the road, his first road game in college in Alabama with a sold-out 100,000 seat Bryant-Denny Stadium. And he said he didn't think it was going to be too big.
Yep.
By the way, Colby also checking in on the Specs chat line with a score prediction. Texas wins 36-17. Milroe threw 2 picks with 1 going back to the house. Tell you what, Colby, go back and listen to yesterday's show and put that score prediction in the comments section. If you do, and several people did, if you do, you could win a prize. You will win a prize if you nail the exact score. That's the key. We'll figure something out. And before we get to our picks, we did our UT Bama picks. We're about to go through a bunch of other games. Wanted to mention to you guys, now is a great time to jump on to Elite Sports Memorabilia. They are the sponsor for this show, but more importantly than that, they are good for you. They've got Brandon with the Elite Sports Memorabilia has all the gear you could possibly want. It's autographed by the Horns players. These are all the NIL deals, which helps the players. He has a roster of players signed that, they come in and they sign the merchandise. So it helps them. It helps us because he sponsors the show, and it helps you because you get incredible gear. I mean, we've said this how many times? Oh, look at that. Somebody's already jumped on the gun. Scan that QR code. They know how to do it. You whip your phone out, you scan the QR code, and you get going, which, by the way, that means there's one less item to purchase because somebody else just got in on it. Don't be the one left behind. Scan that QR code. Go check out Elite Sports Memorabilia. Go check out the wall right behind Nash where all those frame jerseys. Oh, look at that.
Get yourself a Baron jersey. A Jade Baron jersey.
A signed Jade Baron jersey. Jade could be the one taking one of those picks to the house.
Oh,
Jade with the pick 6 on Saturday. Who wouldn't love to see that? And if you would love to see that, if you would love to see Jade with the pick 6, do us a favor. Hit that like button right now. Just smash it. Smash it, as the kids like Aaron like to say. Go ahead, do that. If you want to make sure you get this show, sign up for the notifications. That way you can be first in the house and beat Rodolfo to the chat line, which good luck with that. I mean, Rodolfo's on it. He's clearly got the notifications alert. He's ready to go.
Rodolfo's got his alarm set every day.
Do what?
Rodolfo has his alarm set every morning.
Every morning. He is
my only question with Rodolfo is, like, does he wake up, make sure he's first, and then go back to bed and not actually watch the show? That's my only concern. I want proof that he's still in here after he's the first comment. But
no, I think he works
impressive.
in the morning. He works in the morning. He was in one of my late night streams and he goes, "Hey, I got to go to bed." And I'm
Nice.
like, hey, you know what? I do too, man.
Nice. So
you know what? Listen, I want everyone to watch the show, but as long as you at least click on it and let it play out so we get the view, that's,
And give
come on, Travis. We give good content to the people.
Oh, we sure, of course.
Don't be so artificial.
It's worth watching the show, but if you can't, at least play it out in the background while you're doing something. That's all I'm saying.
While dropping a comment down below on drop a comment on how many tackles for loss Jade has versus Bama.
Very nice. All right, guys. And like I said, we've got a lot of good college football games tomorrow to tide us over until the Tide game. So, and we do this every week. We make our picks. Last week wasn't great.
Yeah, no, it wasn't great. It was average for two of us. Travis, you got some work to do in week 2. You dug yourself.
Yeah, and these are against the spread, FYI, before you all jump. But still, yeah. I tell you what, this is actually a service I provide to you, the viewers. Because if you have someone who's that consistent, you know how to pick. If I'm 1-7 every week, all you have to do is pick the exact opposite and go to the bank happy, right? So whether I'm 7-1 or 1-7, what you want is that, because then you know how to do your picks. Aaron and Nash aren't doing anything for you. You don't know whether to go with their pick or not go with their pick because you don't know if their pick's going to be right or wrong. They're 500 ball club. At least I'm consistent.
I mean, I get your thinking, but we need to wait until more than 1 week because you could be 1-7 this week and then 4-4 the next week. If you're 1-7 like 3 weeks in a row, then yeah, absolutely. But we got to build a little bit of a bigger sample size here before we start drawing massive conclusions.
I'll say it depends on which 4 games I got right. Because it's probably the Colorado TCU game and a couple others. I was like, yeah, I'm confident on my pick with this, but I'm gonna be honest, 4-4, man. I'm on top of the world. I thought I was gonna do way worse than that. That's 100% for me, baby.
Well, let's start off with Colorado. That's going to be the first game of the week. It's the big noon Monday show on Fox. Honestly, I wasn't expecting that kind of game last week with Colorado and TCU, whether we got the picker right or not. And I did not. Obviously, I picked TCU to win and cover. That was a hell of a game. It was very entertaining. Now, Colorado playing at home for the first time under Coach Prime, bringing in Nebraska, which is an old-time rivalry. Nebraska's defense looked incredible in week 1, and they still found a way to lose in Matt Rule's home debut. So now they're going on the road. They're bringing that defense with them. But Coach Prime, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, God, they're looking good. Nash, who are you taking?
I'm taking Colorado. I'm thinking they're going to win and they're going to cover. I think that this is a situation. Aaron probably might agree with me on this. It's a tricky situation for Colorado. You just played a really good, you overperformed what everybody thought the expectations were for Colorado. Now you kind of almost got to match them up again. It could be easy to almost, and here's the other deal: you're not going to surprise Nebraska now. Like they know that defensive team, they know, and they're going to prepare for you. So, but I think Colorado wins and covers.
This is such a trap game, man. I mean, right when I saw the line, I was like, this is the biggest sucker bet of all time. Like Colorado -3 at home. But you know what? I mean, I'm a sucker, so I'm just going to take Colorado -3. I'm just going to acknowledge it's such a trap game. I mean, you've got Nebraska, who looked pretty solid on defense on the road against Minnesota. That game was on a Thursday. They've got 10 days of rest. Colorado, huge emotional win on the road. And now they've got this early 11 a.m. kickoff. It is the biggest trap game ever. I would probably just stay away, but for the sake of the show, I'm just going to be a sucker. And I'm going to roll with Colorado just because the total is pretty high. And when there's a high total, I do want to roll with the better quarterback most of the time. So I'll go with Colorado, just acknowledging that it's just such a trap line.
And on what Aaron said, this is whatever I say is not financial advice. Please do not follow me for making bets on picks.
And I told you to do the opposite of whatever I do. Brett Wyckoff agrees with you guys that Buffaloes are going to roll. But honestly, this is one of y'all talked about a trap game, and here's why. Look, Nebraska's defense was absolutely incredible against Minnesota in week 1. They looked very good. Can they shut down Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and who's the running back, the rookie, the Dylan Henry? Yeah, anyway, there's a lot of talent on that Colorado team, which is why I am picking them to win and cover. But this is not a CU team that's going to roll through their schedule. If TCU had stuck to running the football and just Colorado couldn't stop it. They could not stop any runs up the middle. And if you can't stop a team from running the ball up the middle, it's going to be hard to roll through your schedule. But I don't know that Nebraska is the team to take advantage of it. So I'm very wearily picking Colorado to win and cover. We'll see how that one plays out. I'm looking forward to that game, actually. The next game on the docket, by the way, is – well, you know what? I did have another one I was going to go to, but Britt Berry checked in with his prediction. He picked Oregon to beat Texas Tech 100-0. Obviously not going to happen, but what a day it would make. Barry, I love it. So let's go ahead and let's pick the Oregon-Texas Tech game. Who do you have, Nash? Who's going to win, Oregon versus Texas Tech?
Man, I think Oregon's going to win that game. I think they're going to win, and I think they cover. It's just you got Bo Nix. It does help that that's a home game for Texas Tech. I believe.
Yep.
I thought I was brain farting for a second, but yeah,
It's
going to help that
City.
it's a home game for Texas Tech. But man, that's Oregon team. I think they're definitely one of the teams that's in contention to make it to the playoff. So I think it's just too much for Texas Tech based on they're going to need to impress me based on what they showed after week 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Tech plus the 6.5. I do think Oregon probably finds a way to win a close game, but night game in Lubbock. I mean, you got those Oregon kids. They're so like they used to be out in Oregon. It's all nice. You get to look at trees, and now boom, you're in Lubbock, Texas, in the middle of September in a night game. You're gonna get tortillas thrown at you. 6.5 is a lot of points, so I think there might be a slight overreaction after the Wyoming loss. So I'll take the points for Tech at home.
Yeah, Aaron's got his guns up. I'm not with him on that. Oh, don't shake your head.
I mean, the guns aren't up. I'm just making a pick against the spread. I'm rooting for the Ducks.
All right. You're rooting
he
for
said,
the Ducks.
He said, do not put that bad juju on me. No,
Yeah.
I did not put my guns up.
You're putting the money on Tech. You know what? It's not just that Tech lost to Wyoming in week 1. I'm not really overreacting to that. But if we're picking, a lot of times I pick based on who I think has the better quarterback. And I don't love Tyler Shuff, however the heck you pronounce his name. I don't love him.
I don't know.
Former Oregon quarterback, by the way. I'm not sold on him. I do like a lot of what they're doing at Tech, but give me Bo Nix and the Oregon Ducks in this one. I know they're on the road, but listen, the Pac-12 is legit. Soon to be gone. Pac-12, they're legit this year. This is probably the best conference they've ever had. Shuck. Thank you, Scotty B. I probably knew that. I just didn't really care to learn it. So Tyler Shuck, fine.
And going back to the Nebraska game for a quick second is something I just found on the side real quick was you have to go back to 2017 and to 2017-2018 season to get to them having more than a touchdown differential in games on average. And outside of that, it's like their point differential in the entire season, across the entire season, is like 1-3 points for the most part. So Nebraska, for the most part, has been very close games.
There you go.
100%.
All right. Well, I'm taking Oregon, and I'm taking them to cover. So despite the fact that the game's being played in the hub city, despite the fact that, whatever else we may think of Tech, I'm taking Oregon, and it's not a bias. The next game, by the way, is a sneakily under the radar matchup of top 25 teams. I mean, this is one that is nobody's really talking about, but they're both ranked. Granted, they're down towards the bottom tier, but this is a good one. We've got Ole Miss at Tulane. I had to do a double check on that. Ole Miss, 7.5-point favorites going on the road to New Orleans, taking on Tulane. Aaron, what have you got in this one?
Yeah, I feel like Tulane's getting a little disrespected here. I mean, this is a matchup of two top 25 teams. This game is being played at Tulane. Ole Miss is favored by 7.5. I'm going to take Tulane plus the 7.5. I'm not just going to blindly pick Ole Miss just because they're an SEC team. That hasn't, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee all look good, but some SEC teams haven't been that impressive. I mean, it's just been 1 week, but I think there's a SEC tax here that I'm not going to pay. So I'm going Tulane plus 7.5 at home.
Aaron, Nash?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Aaron's right. There's certainly not enough people there's a lot of people that are literally just writing off Tulane. I don't think that's the case. That should be the case at all. Tulane's a good football team. They're a well-coached football team too. I think Ole Miss wins. I do think Tulane covers, but I don't necessarily think I'm paying an SEC tax here. I will say the reason why I believe that Ole Miss wins this game is because of the run game that Ole Miss has. They have a good run game. They have an experienced quarterback in Jackson Dart. So I think Ole Miss is able to walk away with a win.
All right. Well,
certainly not guaranteed. This is going to be a very close game, in my opinion. Like, I think this is like 3-point game, 1 point, right in that territory.
Well, just to answer a quick chat question, Two Broke. This is a 3:30 Eastern game, so it's going to be oh, well, you guys answered it in the chat. It's an afternoon game. So I'm not sold on Tulane. Look, personally, I do have them in the top 25 of the Gailey poll in my weekly column on orangebloods.com, which if you're not a subscriber, you should be. And the Gailey poll has exactly zero sway over any college football prognosticators, but I'm not sold on Tulane. They lost way too much of their defense last year to I think really repeat what they were able to do last season. I know they have Michael Pratt coming back to quarterback, and he's good, but Jackson Dart is on the other side of the scrimmage. He had 330 yards passing in week 1. If he goes down, oh yeah, Spencer Sanders, who transferred from Oklahoma State, stepped in the second half, had 150 yards passing. Lane Kiffin has got this offense rolling. He's got the quarterbacks to do it. Give me Ole Miss and the points. They're going to cover. Ole Miss wins.
I forgot Spencer Sanders went to Ole Miss.
He did.
Like, so much have happened. That one completely just.
They had like 3 really good quarterbacks battling it out, but Jackson Dart at the end of the day ended up keeping his job because he progressed enough.
And then they have Judkins, and I mean, at the end of the day, they also have Kiffin too, who's right there.
They do.
Right up there with Sark as an offensive mind.
And I can't remember the name of the running back they've got, but that dude is a speedster.
Judkins, Quinn Judkins.
Yes, that's it. He's a speedster and a half. I don't think Tulane has the defense to hang with Ole Miss, so I'm taking Ole Miss. As is Two Broke to pay attention. My boy, he's with me. You're my boy, Broke. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to South Beach, huh? How about a little Miami action? A little Cubano sandwiches and coffee. Miami, Texas A&M is bringing their herd of cattle to Miami. Talk about a clash of cultures. Texas A&M and the U. Texas A&M is favored, though. They're 4-point favorites. They're going on the road to take on Miami. This is a big week 2 game, which is only being overshadowed, of course, by the fact that their big brother Texas has a much bigger game being played this week.
Beautiful.
not that we're reveling in that kind of thing or anything, Aggies.
Oh,
but it's a big game for you guys on the road in Miami. Let's kick it off, Nash. Who you got?
I'm gonna have to take a shower after this episode, but I think Texas A&M wins and covers. I hate saying this, but Texas A&M, they looked really good week 1. The quarterback looked great, like accurate, great balls that he was throwing. I think Texas A&M wins and covers, and I just Miami's going to have to show something to me before I pick them.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I want to give myself a quick pat on the back here. I've understood 2 references today. I've seen Top Gun. You guys talked about that earlier.
I wondered. I almost said something.
Hey, are we going to do that segment? Because I got something for you.
Well, I've seen Top Gun, and Travis, old school. You're my boy, Blue. I got that reference. So I'm 2 for 2 on references today. So I'm having a good show.
I don't know that you get credit for old school, though.
Question. Who's on first? Do you know who's on first?
Yeah, Nash. We're not doing that right now. There's just it gets complicated so quick. I'm also going A&M. I agree with Nash on a lot of those reasons. I'm just glad they're letting them play this game on TV. Good for the Aggies. They get to watch this game on television before the real game shows up on ABC.
There you go. I too am taking A&M. I'm not sold on Mario Cristobal at Miami. I think he's obviously a tremendous recruiter. I don't know how great a coach he is. I don't know how good this Miami team is. A&M's got a lot of talent. Whether you love them or hate them, there's no denying they've got a lot of talent. Give me A&M and the points. They're going to win and cover.
And Travis, to that point, I think Oregon, them not falling off after he left, after Cristobal left, that really is it's either an indictment on Cristobal or a sign of how good that coach is that came in.
Yeah. By the way, Brandon doesn't appreciate us picking.
No, it doesn't.
That's I get it, and you're right, Nash. I actually think Oregon got better after Cristobal left. So he's a great offensive line coach. He's a great recruiter. I don't know about a head coach.
Who's the coach there now? I'm blanking on that. Do y'all know?
Do what?
Do you know who the coach is there now? I'm blanking off it.
I'm blanking on it too. I know Kenny Dillingham was the offensive coordinator, and now he's at Arizona State. But I'm brain farting who the head coach is. But it doesn't matter. We'll move on. This one is an intriguing game to me for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. SMU is going on the road up I-35 to OU. SMU had a pretty good week one, and they are one of the more favored group of 5 teams coming into this season. And now they're a future ACC member as of next year, which still boggles my mind. And listen, I've got to get a quick shout out to Yahoo's Ross Dellinger, who came out with an incredible piece yesterday talking about how that all came to be. It really is a fantastic read. I don't often advise people to go read other people's stuff, but you should check that out. Anyway, SMU on the road to OU. OU are 16.5-point favorites after rolling to a 73-0 week one win. Is OU legit? Can SMU hang? Aaron, what you got?
I don't know if OU's legit, but I mean, they showed me enough on offense in week one and against this SMU defense. I will take OU to cover the 15.5 points, which is a lot, but this is a home game for OU. I think they're going to put up a lot of points. This is just one of those weeks where I'm picking OU, A&M, and Tech all to cover. I'm just going to be rooting against my picks, but that's how it goes sometimes.
All right, Nash.
I think this is a trap game for OU. I'm not necessarily thinking that it's going to be a close game, but like Aaron said, 15.5 points is a lot of points. I have SMU covering, but at the end of the day, I think OU wins the game.
I'm actually in line with Nash on this. OU is going to win, but I will take SMU with the points to cover. So, betting against the spread, I would take SMU, but OU will win outright on the money line bet. So, you know what, guys? By the way, that was OU obviously in the same boat. This is the last season in the Big 12 as OU and Texas prepare to move to the SEC. Nash, you were at the game last week against Rice. Did you happen to notice there were no Big 12 flags flying at DKR this year? Yeah, that's right. Texas did not put up the flags of the other Big 12 teams. They are 1 foot out the door to the SEC already. Kind of hard to blame them, right? I mean, this is they're looking ahead to the SEC, and we are too. Every week we're looking ahead to the SEC. When we come back, we're going to talk to Chris Gordy for SEC Friday. It's normally Tuesday. We'll explain why it's on Friday when we get back. But first, guys, one day until kickoff, you better get your provisions in store now. And the only way to do that, the best way to do that, not the only, but the absolute best, is to go to Specs. Specs is a Texas company, born and bred right there in our home state. They have got all of your finest food, alcohol, mixers, spirits, whatever you need, they've got it. Specs is the way to stock up so that you can make sure that by the time Bama and Texas kick off, you are ready. There's no more, oh, honey, we're out of this. We need no. You do not want to be doing that halftime run because you didn't plan ahead of time. Go hit up Specs right now, or even better, you can go to Specs online. Just buy it and it'll be delivered. I mean, how do you beat that? Check out Specs for all of your game day provisions.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
All right. And here we are, Chris Gordy from the Locked On SEC podcast, also a host on Sports 790 in Houston, which is the home of Texas football. If you're listening on the radio in Houston, Chris, how are you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm doing okay. I was, down in Orlando, got to go see LSU's butt whooping in person. So, it is what it is. But it was fun environment, and I think Florida State, actually seeing them in person, I think that's actually going to be a team that has a chance to run the table in the ACC. And after seeing how poor Clemson looked the other night, I think Florida State's the real deal, and I'm excited to see if Texas is the real deal, because I picked them as one of my 4 playoff teams. So let's go, Longhorns.
There you go. And sorry about your LSU. For those of you who don't know, Chris is an LSU alum, so that could not have been a pleasant trip to Orlando.
And a quick note, we just, because I get the Facebook memory, we just marked the 4-year anniversary of LSU beating Texas in Austin, which was an awesome week. It was, we tailgated. It was an awesome crowd. It was an awesome game and all this. And we didn't know at the time that Joe Burrow was going to become what Joe Burrow was going to be. But it was just kind of funny seeing that it was the 4-year anniversary of that. And I was talking with somebody about the trajectory of what would have happened if Texas had won that game. Like, how would things have changed? LSU and Joe Burrow doesn't win the Heisman. LSU maybe doesn't win the championship. Tom Herman maybe gets, a fat contract extension. Maybe he's still coaching at Texas to this day. So it's just funny how the trajectory of that one game could have changed both programs.
Here's the real mind bender. What would have happened had LSU won out on the bidding battle to hire Tom Herman in the first place? Because both teams were going after him.
Yeah, that's another one too.
That's a weird parallel universe that I don't know that we have time to explore today.
Yeah,
it really comes down to that 3rd and 17 play, man. That one play hinges a lot of success and failure hinges on that one play.
And it's funny looking back now, as I just had a fantasy football draft the other day, and the first 2 picks are Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Now you see what they were working with that night.
Absolutely, probably one of the best receiving cores of all time. But look, we don't need to dredge up these memories. What are you doing to us, Chris? Come on. Listen, if you've got a question for Chris, jump in on the Specs chat line, throw up a question. We're talking SEC football. We may get to it. The only way we can guarantee we'll get to it is if it's a super chat. We'll promise you that. But Chris, the big game of the week, I mean, forget 2019. This is 2023, Texas versus Alabama. What are you hearing on the Bama side heading into this big game?
Well, we did a preview on our Locked On channel. It's going to drop later this afternoon. Our 2 guys who cover Alabama and Texas, and it was funny. I asked both of them last night. I said, "What's the key to the game in both your opinions? What's the key matchup?" And they both said in the trenches. They both said that, what is Texas going to do up front? What is Alabama going to do up front? And that will really be the key to the game. We saw last week. Again, it's hard to get too many takeaways because you played Rice and you played Middle Tennessee, but I thought Bama defensively up front looked like old school Bama, that the dominant, just big 300-pounders up front. They looked pretty damn good in slowing down Middle Tennessee. But I thought Texas did a pretty good job of slowing down Rice's run game. What was it, like 27 net rushing yards on the day? So Texas looked good up front, and who's going to be that guy? Who's going to be that big edge rusher that can get a sack? We know the 2 interceptions was nice as well on JT Daniels. So it's really going to be, to me, what both teams do in the trenches. I think offensive line wise, Alabama looked pretty good. There was 1 or 2 times where Jalen Milroe got sacked. There was another time they had a botched snap, but Middle Tennessee so bad, he was able to turn around, go pick up the football, and then run it all the way in for a touchdown. And I said to somebody, that's not going to happen against Texas. If you botch that snap, that's a sack, because Texas has faster guys, bigger, athletic, stronger guys. So, it's just going to be real fascinating to see what both teams look like in the trenches, good on good. And, we'll see. I do think, whoever's offensive line protects more and whoever's D-line gets after it more, that will be the difference maker.
Chris, Alabama's obviously been really dominant at home over the years. You've seen a lot of these games. There's been a lot of teams that, like Texas this week, they go in there with great players. They've got those expectations. They've convinced themselves that they can win this game, and then they get to Bryant-Denny Stadium, and it's just a different story. What is it about these home games specifically with Nick Saban, and what does Texas really have to avoid that other teams have kind of fallen victim to when they go and play a road game in Tuscaloosa?
it is one of the most loudest environments in college football. I know other campuses or other schools get better raps, LSU in Death Valley, the Big House, up at Ohio State. I mean, a lot of these venues are really loud, but Tuscaloosa is a little bit underrated. It can get loud, and when they start that fourth quarter and they play Dixieland Delight and all the lights shut off in the stadium and it's just the red strobe lights going, I mean, it can be an intimidating place. And there's a reason why. Since 2010, only 5 teams have won there, and 3 of the people who've won there have won Heisman trophies.
Yep.
Like, it's going to take a special performance. Now, that's not to say, I mean, last year Quinn Ewers was having a nice day before he got hurt and knocked out of the game. So it's not crazy to think there's a world where Texas wins this game and Quinn Ewers is the reason, and he vaults himself up into the Heisman conversation. I think that's absolutely a realistic possibility. But it's going to take a special performance. Running through the names last night, it was Cam Newton, Johnny Manziel, Joe Burrow, and then you had the LSU Alabama game of the century in 2011 where LSU won 9-6. And then you had that Ole Miss Hugh Freeze team with Chad Kelly where they had like 5 turnovers on Alabama. That's what it takes. It takes something that special to win there in Tuscaloosa. And so the good news is Sark has been there. Sark has coached there before. Sark knows what to expect. There's going to be no surprise on, oh my God, this place is louder than I thought. Sark knows exactly what to expect, and he's going to have the guys ready.
Yeah, you talked about that kind of performance, but and that's Quinn certainly has the skill set to do that kind of thing. And I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit. I'm not sure. Do you know what the latest is with Alabama safeties? They had 2 safeties that were injured in the game last week. Are they both going to play? Are they full strength? Do you know?
They're still, as of yesterday, we're both listed as day-to-day. Malachi Moore and Jalen Key. Jalen Key was a transfer from UAB, played a lot of football there and had an interception this past week's game. So, and Malachi Moore has been there forever. He's a senior and leader. But the problem is, if either of those guys doesn't play, they've got studs everywhere. I mean, Caleb Downs was a 5-star freshman they signed. He looked like, watching him in the spring game, he looked like he'd been playing there for 4 years. So look, it's Alabama. It's next man up. I don't know if it helps tremendously having 1 or 2 guys out, but I did think it was interesting just seeing the defensive front. The last couple of years with Pete Golding as their defensive coordinator, they kind of became a little finesse at times. It was less of that aggressive front, the blitzing and all that kind of stuff that we're so used to with Alabama defenses. This looked more like a traditional Alabama defense this past week. It had Saban's fingerprints all over it, and you could see Kevin Steele, maybe not the best defensive coordinator in the world. Obviously, he was at Miami a year ago, and it was not great. But he's taken what Saban's given him and saying, hey, just do this. And so we're going to see a more, put it this way, Quinn Ewers is going to see a lot more pressure this week. He's going to have to get rid of that ball. There's going to be a lot of exotic blitzes coming at him, safety blitzes, corner blitzes. A lot of guys coming at him from different angles. So, again, can the O-line protect? I think they can.
I don't know. He saw plenty of pressure against Rice, and Bama's a little bit better on defense than Rice. Just a hair. By the way, so you mentioned you mentioned Jimbo Kevin Steele being at Miami last week. Miami's got a big game this week. Texas A&M, we just picked this game in our weekly picks. But talk about a clash of cultures. Texas A&M going on the road to Miami. They had the talent to do it. They had the talent last year to do it, though, and they struggled all year. They did beat Miami last year, but are they ready to roll this year? Are they going to have a turnaround? What did you see from Alabama A&M in week 1?
Yeah, I thought they looked good. You passed the smell test in week 1. I get it was New Mexico, but Connor Wegman looked great. 5 touchdown passes. I think he threw 8 all of last year, so that looked good. The Bobby Petrino, there were no issues with him and Jimbo butting heads. And so, yeah, everything looked good week 1 for A&M, but this is a much tougher test. Guys, I'll almost go out on a limb and say this is a must-win for Texas A&M, because think about this. If they lose this game, and there's no shame in losing at Miami. It's a tough place to play. But think about what's going to happen on Monday if they lose this game. All the talk's going to come out again on what's the Jimbo buyout money? How much does it cost to get rid of him? Oh, the Bobby Petrino hire wasn't as good as we thought it was. Connor Wegman doesn't look as good. Like, there's going to be all these narratives coming out of the woodwork on Monday that I know will delight plenty of the Longhorn hearts out there. But, on the flip side, I think if they win it, we're talking about, okay, A&M is much improved. Maybe we're not considering them enough to win the SEC West this year, beat Alabama, beat Ole Miss, and beat LSU. So it really is that this game, that the outcome of this game could go either way for A&M. And I think Miami's got a chance, but I do think that A&M, man, if they play like they played a week ago, they're going to be a problem for a lot of people this year, and they'll win going away this weekend. 4-point favorites on the road. I like A&M -4 just because I see it as a must-win game for them.
So
there it is. It's a clean sweep. Go ahead, Nash. What you got?
I was gonna say everybody has been talking all week about the Alabama matchup and how the teams match up against each other. And the one position I have not heard a single peep out of anybody is the linebackers for Alabama. How do you think because the Texas running backs we're fairly inexperienced. We do have a lot of talent in the room. CJ Baxter's healthy, so that's going to be huge for us because he's our third down back, red zone back. But what do you think about the Alabama matchup with the linebackers versus the running backs?
Yeah, I mean, they got some good ones. It's a couple guys that have been hanging around on the roster and finally getting their chance to play a little bit more. Chris Braswell, he's the jack linebacker. I think he had a sack a week ago. They've been very high on him. Deontay Lawson is a guy who was a redshirt freshman a year ago. He's getting his chance to play more of that weak side backer. He played well. And then Tresman Marshall is a transfer from Georgia, I believe, and came in, senior transfer, played a good bit of football. And that they replaced, you lose a guy like Henry Toa. They lost Christian Harris a couple years ago. It's always just next man up at Alabama. They always have good physical linebackers that can run sideline to sideline. They come up and help stuff the run. So yeah, as much as I'd love to tell you that, I don't know, Jadon Blue's going to run for 100 yards and they're going to put up a big day in the run game. I mean, we saw Bijan get stuffed a good bit last year. He had a couple moments, but the Alabama linebacker crew, bad news is they're pretty good once again.
Yeah, nothing unusual there. Chris, I know you're still healing. I hate to go back to the LSU game, but I want to pair them with Florida. When you look at, kind of disappointing performances, I know we give a lot of credit to Florida State because they played really well in that game. But when you look at LSU and Florida going forward, which team are you more concerned about as far as the rest of this season? Obviously, we saw Florida get rolled on that Thursday by Utah. Aside from your LSU faithfulness, which one are you more concerned about there, LSU or Florida?
It would be Florida because they couldn't do anything. I mean, I thought at least the strength of their team this year was going to be the run game, and they couldn't run the ball at all against Utah. And they got two really good backs in Trevor Etienne and Montrell Johnson. And I thought that was going to be the saving grace. Look, I knew Graham Mertz was not going to be good. And I said their one saving grace is going to be that run game, and it was not very good. So if they can get that figured out, moving forward, then okay, maybe Florida can win a game or two. But their schedule is absolutely brutal. I'm a little bit more bullish on LSU. The one thing both teams had in common this past week is that they shot themselves in the foot big time. I mean, in big moments. I'll throw South Carolina in there as well. Spencer Rattler actually played pretty well in the North Carolina game when he had time. And the problem was he got sacked 9 times. Like, he didn't have time. On every third down, it felt like here he is getting sacked and getting knocked around. Same thing for LSU. LSU was 3 for 10 on third downs. Florida State was 9 of 14. To me, that was the story of the game. You go look at the stats, LSU and Florida State were similar in rushing yards, similar in passing yards, similar in just about every category, except when it mattered most, Florida State made the plays. LSU couldn't. LSU had 2 trips to the red zone, away with 0 points. So look, I'm not. When I went back and rewatched the film, I wasn't on the bandwagon with all these idiots who were like, "Fire Brian Kelly. He's in over his head. He can't coach." It's like, guys, if they play that game again tomorrow, I guarantee it's a lot closer. Now, Florida State probably wins again because they're just that much more talented. I mean, they've got stud receivers. They've got a good defensive front. They've got talent all over the place. And I thought Jordan Travis outplayed Jaden Daniels. And wouldn't surprise me if Jordan Travis finds his name in the Heisman conversation. But, that to me was the overwhelming takeaway from a lot of those SEC schools that took losses in week one. It was just lack of execution. Not so much that, the other team was good. There's no shame in losing to those teams. In fact, Florida was an underdog to Utah, and South Carolina was an underdog to North Carolina, and LSU was a slight 2-point favorite right at kickoff over Florida State. So there's no shame in losing to those teams. But look, if all three of those teams, if they execute a little bit better moving forward, I think they can all have nice seasons. I'm not overreacting to starting the season 0-1.
Real quick, if Mason Smith, the suspended defensive tackle for LSU, had played in that game, would that have made any kind of difference? I mean, look, I'm not saying win, because I don't think a defensive tackle erases that kind of deficit that they lost by, but how much of a difference does it make having him in for LSU?
It would have made a big difference because one of two things. They were playing, they were going a rotation next to Mekhi Wingo at defensive tackle. You don't have Mason Smith in there to push the pocket. I felt like they got no pressure on Jordan Travis much of the night. I mean, he barely got a hand on the guy. The other part of it is Harold Perkins, the kid who was a stud freshman for LSU last year. They were playing him out of position. They were trying to play him at inside linebacker, and it's just not a natural spot for him. I get what they were thinking, kind of a spy on Jordan Travis. He can drop into coverage and cover a tight end or a running back. But that guy's best asset is rushing the passer. I mean, he had games, go watch that Arkansas game last year. He was just wreaking havoc in the backfield. So to say that, I would say one of two things. I would have had Harold Perkins more playing the true edge, and I would have had Mason Smith coming up the gut. I do think it would have made a difference in that maybe one of those big third downs for Florida State. They get pressure, they get a sack. Florida State doesn't go on to score a touchdown. So, again, I don't know if it would have made a difference in the outcome of the game, but I do think it would have made a difference in some of those big plays that Florida State made. Maybe they would have had more pressure on them.
Yeah.
And Chris, you just read my mind. You just read the question right out of my mind. I was going to ask about Harold Perkins and how he's using that game and get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and the talk is they're going to move him back a little bit more to that outside edge rusher, position.
They're going to put him in a position that he truly excelled at last year.
Yeah, go figure.
As a college football fan, let's just say this is, hey, come on, you got to get this right.
Yeah,
we need Harold Perkins. Okay.
One of the problems for LSU moving forward still is going to be, their defensive backs are not very good. I think that they said they're going to give some of their true freshmen a chance this week at against Grambling to see what they can do. I said going into last week, I said no offense against the transfer portal, but if LSU, known as DBU, going to start a cornerback from Syracuse in southeastern Louisiana, we got bigger problems here. I mean, this is a program that had, Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu, Morris Claiborne, good DB after good DB throughout the years where, it was LSU versus Texas. Who's the real DBU? Right now, it's Texas because LSU's DBs are not very good.
Obviously. That's never been a question from our end. All right, Chris, I want to wrap up things with what we went through our picks. And to me, this is the sneaky good game of the day. It's Ole Miss versus Tulane, which I for the life of me, I don't know why Ole Miss is going on the road to Tulane, but they are. It's being played in New Orleans. Battle of top 25 teams that nobody's talking about. Tell me what you see in this game.
It's a really intriguing one. I've been messing with our Locked On Ole Miss coach all week, saying I like Tulane in the upset. This is a really, really good Tulane team. Michael Pratt is the real deal. If you didn't see him last week, they played South Alabama. South Alabama is not South Alabama is a decent team. That's not Rice or Mercer or Furman. South Alabama is a pretty good team. And Michael Pratt went 14 of 15 for almost 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was flawless. We go back to January of this year, guys. Tulane beat the Heisman Trophy winner and Caleb Williams in the Cotton Bowl. So when I start talking to Ole Miss people this week, we're going to blow them out. No big deal. I'm like, guys, Tulane is a problem. Stop acting like they can't hang with you guys. New Orleans is hyped up. Ullman Stadium, it's a tiny stadium, but it's sold out. Those fans are going to be intoxicated. It's middle of the day. It's going to be hot. Lane Kiffin's going to have to lean on that run game and Quinshon Judkins and eat up clock because I just don't know. If they're going to throw it all around the field with Jackson Dart, if he makes first sign of that first mistake, and he threw a lot of turnovers down the stretch of last season after their 7-0, 8-0 start last year, Like if we see the old Jackson Dart creep up, man, Tulane's going to grab that momentum and capitalize. So I think this one's close. I keep looking at it and saying, give me Tulane plus the 7.5. But I don't know. Part of me thinks maybe Ole Miss just wears them down in the second half, runs that football a ton, and gets out with the victory. But I don't know, man. Danger territory for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I picked Ole Miss just because Tulane lost so much on defense going into last year. Coming out. And by the way, you don't have to mention to Texas fans that South Alabama is a good team. They've got the one and only Major Applewhite as their offensive coordinator. Everyone knows who South Alabama is. The Jaguars getting it done.
Couldn't remember if he was still there or not. Guys jump around so much. But
He is. He's in his second season now as offensive coordinator at South Alabama. Of course, everyone knows that, right? I mean, everyone's got that one locked and loaded and ready to go. Is there any other game you're really looking forward to?
Where's Charlie Strong, by the way?
Alabama. He is.
Oh, that's right.
He's back at Bama as a one of those special assistants. So yeah, he's
a good defensive coach. Like you can say whatever you want about his head coaching, but a good defensive coach.
Sure, when he's got Urban Meyer that he's working for.
And occasionally, a fluke against Kansas or something. It's all good.
Hey, we don't talk about that around here. Chris, thank you so much for joining us, buddy. We really appreciated it. We are looking forward to catching up on Tuesday after the Texas-Bama game for our normal SEC Tuesday. Anything you're working on you want to let fans know about before we move on?
Yeah, of course, you guys are the ultimate source for all things Longhorns. But if you want a little outsider perspective and preview of the game, we're going to drop that later this afternoon on our Locked On SEC channel, previewing all the angles of the game. Luke Robinson, who does a great job for us to host Locked On Bama, he will give you all the recipes for an upset on what Texas needs to do if they want to win this game. So we'll have that up for you at Locked On SEC, wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube later this afternoon.
Fantastic. Thank you again for joining us. We will talk to you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend of college football, Chris.
All right. Thanks, guys. Hook 'em.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thank you so much. That was awesome. That was I love getting the look at SEC football. It's a primer for us for heading into next season. I'm very excited he agreed to join us all year long.
Yeah, it's going to be a great segment all year. He has so much knowledge on so many important teams. Like we love, this is obviously a Texas football show. We're going to be talking Texas 85% of the time, but we talk college football as a whole, and he's a great resource. I'm really enjoying those segments.
I love his setup too. It's just all those bobbleheads back there too.
It's nice.
It kind of rivals the helmet background for the
Chad Hastings.
Yeah. By the way, had to address this. Barry, heck no, Brent. I've got Texas winning as well. So no, Nash is not the only one who.
So that makes me. Is everybody else outside of the OB is it all the Texas Longhorn Orangebloods outside, or is it just me and you, Travis?
We should have the official predictions thread on Orangebloods.com later today, so we'll have to see about that. Anwar has not made his pick on his show yet, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if you two are out there on an island.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me at all either. I just again, Aaron's right. The official predictions thread will go up on Orangebloods today. You can log on to Orangebloods.com, but I think you and me may be it, Nash. We may be the only.
If we're right, we'll be waving that flag on that island. Well, nobody's allowed over.
Travis, going to quickly knock out these last two games we got here.
You know what? We can. I was going to let them go, but we do have two more games that we did pick. Let's go ahead and real quick. Utah at Baylor. Utah, big win, week 1 versus Florida. We just talked about it. Big physical team going on the road to Baylor, who week 1 was not so good for the Bears. Losing to Texas State at home. First time Texas State has ever beat a Power 5 team. Do they turn it around this week, Aaron?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take Baylor plus the 8. This is another home team getting 8 points. I just think this is a little bit of a week 1 overreaction game. That can happen a lot with the lines. Vegas wants to capitalize on fans overreacting from week 1. Baylor with the super ugly loss Utah with a super impressive win on Thursday night when everyone was watching first college football game. So I'm going to go Baylor +8. I do think Utah finds a way to win and sends Baylor to 0-2, but I will take the Bears to cover.
I agree with what Aaron just said, but the only reason why I'm picking Utah to win and cover is because I would have done it regardless of what happened week 1. I think Utah's just the better team.
I'm with you. Utah's the better team. Utah, by the way, is more of an SEC team than Florida was.
Is Rising starting?
They do what?
Is Rising starting this week? Because that's a big deal. If he starts,
I don't know that he's back yet, honestly. But you know what? It didn't matter week 1. Utah is big. They're physical. They're tough. That's the kind of team that is – they're just a damn good team. And people are still underrating the Pac-12. Give me Utah plus the points. And the final game is – it's ironic that we're not betting on it, but we're making picks against the spread because it's Iowa at Iowa State. Of course, the Cyclones are without several of their who should have been their starting quarterback, starting running back, several other players because they couldn't lay off the gambling themselves. In fact, they even bet on against their own team, one or two of them. So it's ironic we're picking this one. Iowa at Iowa State. I believe Iowa is 3.5-point favorites. Nash, you going Hawkeyes, Cyclones, the batter? Who you got?
I'm going the Hawkeyes. I mean, last week they looked like Iowa's got an offense, but I think Iowa State's just they've had way too much loss with the whole betting stuff.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's. This game is always so ugly. It's almost fun to watch just because of how ugly it is sometimes. There's just so many punts back and forth. We got a total of 36.5. I'm just going to take the points when the total is that low. So I'm going to go Iowa State plus 3.5. You know what all the sharp people say? We don't bet games here. We don't bet on teams. We bet on numbers. So I'm just going to take the 3.5 points in a game with a low total.
Yeah, see, I didn't know the sharp said that. So that shows you how deep I am into sports betting. It's just not my thing, folks. I'm sorry. I don't do it because A, I'm not good at it, and B, I don't need that juice to get excited about a game. I'm happy to watch Iowa versus Iowa State anyway. Cade McNamara has been dealing with an injury. I don't know that he's fully back healthy. He didn't look great week 1. He's still the better quarterback in this game. I've got the Hawkeyes winning, and I've got them covering the 3.5, but 36.5, I would still take the under. That game's going to be an ugly game. It's going to be a battle, sure. And the most interesting thing for me that I'm tracking with the Hawkeyes this year, by the way, is they have to win 7 games and they have to average 25 points a game in order for Kirk Ferentz's son to remain the offensive coordinator. That was written into his contract this year because they sucked so bad last year at offense. He should have been fired last year, but it's his son. So they've got to average 25 points a game. They didn't do it week 1. They had 24 points. I'm tracking that every week. I want to know if Iowa gets to 25 and averages that. I don't think they do this week. Give me the under, but give me Iowa to win and cover.
Hey, Travis, you're going to do great this week, okay? We have a lot of the same picks. Only different pick we have is you have Ole Miss winning and covering. I have Ole Miss winning and Tulane covering.
There you go. I love it.
You're going to have a great week this week, Travis, okay?
I don't bet, Brent. That's my point. I don't bet because, again, I don't need it. I'm good without that juice, without that. I don't need the thrill of the bet to get me into a game. I'm going to watch anyway. Guys.
Must be nice. Sounds nice. We
are just hours away now. Hours. We can count down to kickoff in hours. We are that close. It's coming up. It's 11, 24, 35 hours away from kickoff, basically. It's time. It's time. That's it for us this week. We need you to do a few favors, though. And I know we ask a lot of you, but first off, I got to say we appreciate each and every one of you who tune in and watch. We can't thank you enough. This show doesn't happen without you. It also doesn't happen without Elite Sports memorabilia. So if you want to do us a favor, scan this QR code and go check out ESM. But actually, you should do that if you want to do yourself a favor because they've got everything you need for Longhorn memorabilia. It is there. Jump on it. Get it. Look at Nash's wall. That could be your wall. That could be your sports den right there. The other thing we want you to do is do what?
You're supporting the players too. So
if you actually they they signed this memorabilia through an NIL deal, so it helps them. Look at that. Somebody's on board already. Don't be the one left behind when all the gear is sold out. You want to scan that code and go help yourself out. The other thing you can do to help yourself out to get ready for game day is go check out Specs. Finally, we want you to smash the like button. If you enjoyed this show, smash the like button. If you think Texas is going to win, and listen, this one's on you, and I mean it. If you don't hit the like button to give Texas a little extra juice going into Alabama and they come out with a loss, it's on you for not hitting that like button. Do it right now. Hit it. Subscribe to the OB Live channel. Ring the bell for notifications so that you'll know when shows like Anwar's old-fashioned sports show comes up in just 15, 20 minutes. You'll know when House Divided with Jeff Ketchum and Chad Hastings comes on at noon Central Time. You'll know when Football with Friends with Alex Dunlap comes on later this afternoon. It is a full day of Texas versus Alabama football coverage right here on OB Live. Subscribe to the channel. You won't regret it. We promise you that. Guys, any final thoughts before we head out for the weekend?
We made it, man. 2 weeks in the book. I'm having a lot of fun with the show. I'm having a great time with you guys. Everyone in the chat has been great. I love the people that wake up early and watch the show with us. Try to enjoy the game this weekend, everyone. It's going to be stressful. There's going to be good moments. There's going to be bad moments, but try to enjoy it because this is the one we've been looking forward to for months. I mean, it's been a long time.
I'm having a great time doing this. And I think so yesterday's episode, right, Aaron, was the one. If you want to go drop a prediction in the comment section.
Yep.
If you nail that, prize to be determined. Maybe you come on the show, maybe something else. We'll like I said, to be determined, but go to yesterday's show, drop in the comment section, and we appreciate all the support. I mean, like every time we ask, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, it helps. Regardless of what your opinions are on anything else, it helps us three. So
Charlie Williams, hit that like button. Don't be left behind. Give that extra good juju to Texas for this weekend. If you want them, hit the like button.
Yeah, hit the
Thank
like
you
button
again so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. Stick around for Anwar's show coming up. Have a great weekend, everyone.